Okay, well, good evening to everyone as we continue the Terrell Severe Weather Readiness 2017 campaign. Tuesday's topic is going to be damaging winds and derechos. So, damaging thunderstorm winds, that's a common problem, especially in Indiana with severe weather. In terms of winds, wind speeds in excess of 58 miles an hour or greater must be reported by spotters or indicated by National Weather Service Doppler radar in order to meet severe criteria. So, a severe thunderstorm has to be doing one of three things. A lot of times it can be doing at least two of them, sometimes all of them, in order to be considered severe, producing a tornado or being a tornado indicated by radar, quarter-size hail, either reported by spotters or indicated by radar, or damaging winds, like it says here, in excess of at least 58 miles an hour, reported by spotters or indicated by radar. And like I said, Indiana in particular is a hotbed for these damaging thunderstorm winds. So let's talk a little bit about microburst and downburst. Because there is a difference between the two terms. Microburst would be a brief version of a downburst, so to speak, often the result of a briefly severe single-cell thunderstorm as the updraft is collapsing. This is a common occurrence during the summertime when we get these little popcorn thunderstorms, as they are often referred to, that just kind of pop up and with a little bit of moisture and heating on a hot summer day, just kind of rain themselves out. At times, depending on how strong that updraft can get, when it collapses, that can be a whopper of heavy rain and damaging winds that comes crashing down to the surface, producing, like I said, lots of heavy rain and a brief but very potent outburst of wind damage. I mean, very intense wind damage. You might have felt one of these before, and they don't last very long, but boy, I mean, they can really create quite a punch in a very short period of time. Then you have a downburst or a macroburst. Like a microburst, it's only longer and more widespread. This might be a little more common, like a multi-cell thunderstorm situation, or be common along a big squall line with damaging winds mixing down to the surface and so on. And so both can cause winds, whether it's short-lived or long-lived. Both can cause winds well over 80 miles an hour if they are strong enough. A lot of times it doesn't get quite that strong, but it can get that strong and even stronger. So this is kind of an example of a big squall line. These are typically what we look for when we're looking for a large swath of damaging wind potential. You can see here this big line that extends all the way from eastern Indiana down to Mississippi. That doesn't look like a derecho, which I'll be addressing here shortly, but it does have these little bowing segments. You can kind of see one just west of Nashville, Tennessee. So it looks like a big line with some damaging winds along that line. This is southeastern Minnesota. This is a smaller squall line. Sometimes they can look a lot smaller. Sometimes we refer to something as this more like a MCS, a mesoscale convective system. And you see this little notch here where the precipitation looks to have more of that bow echo shape that we talk about sometimes. That is where the damaging winds are going to be stronger. We have what's called rear inflow jet that kind of kicks in here from the back and kind of pushes that precipitation forward. That's how we get that echo here. And that can be a good indication of some very, very strong damaging winds, possibly right here in southeastern Minnesota at the time that was being taken. This shot was being taken. So derechos. Derecho is kind of the damaging wind version of a tornado outbreak. They are very serious events. They're very rare, but very serious. A particularly destructive and widespread wind event that can last several hours and produce extreme wind damage. You can have two types of derechos. You have a serial derecho, which is more like a big thin squall line that occurs during the cool season on rare occasions. And then probably the more common scenario is a progressive derecho, which occurs during the summertime, where you get these big versions of mesoscale convective systems like you see down here. And you can see how heavy and intense that precipitation is. as this thing rushes off here into east southeast Ohio. And you could see just a big bowing segment right all along here. The winds would be very intense along this big huge line of thunderstorms here. These can produce winds in excess of 80 to 100 miles an hour, and sometimes, on very rare occasions, maybe even greater than 100 miles an hour. So these derechos are very serious situations, and they should not be taken lightly. This other picture that you see down here to your left is something that you can picture that of a cloud formation that is common along derechos and squall lines. This is what we call a shelf cloud. It's not a wall cloud, not a funnel cloud. There's some little scud clouds below there that can kind of look like funnels. But this is a big wall cloud. Big shelf cloud. And generally, if you get tornadoes, they're going to kind of be on with these squall lines. They're going to be kind of on the leading edge here of the squall line here, and they're going to be brief little tornadoes. They can cause a little bit of damage, very hard to warn on, but you can get occasionally brief and weak little tornadoes along kind of the leading edge of that squall line formation. But the big threat is usually always damaging winds. And again, derechos can be very serious, and they can produce damage, as you can see here on this picture. This is straight line wind damage. Derechos can really pack quite a punch and create damage equivalent to a weak tornado. So these are very serious events and very widespread. Derechos can kill people. They have been known to kill people just through their power of straight line winds. They're quite a fascinating weather event from a meteorological standpoint, but they can be deadly and they can produce quite a bit of damage. So derechos are not something to be taken lightly. They're probably more common in Indiana than what they are in Kansas. A lot of times they occur when the ridging has already built up into Kansas, so the ridge is over the Central Plains. And a good little hot spot for these derechos to form would be in like eastern Iowa and northern Illinois, kind of on the northeastern edge of that ridge. We call this the Ring of Fire pattern. And that's a good place for derechos to form, but it doesn't mean derechos can form and impact Kansas as well. Dangers of damaging winds. Damaging wind events can obviously be dangerous and even deadly. Derecho in particular is a very serious weather threat and should be respected as a tornado, and I'm dead serious about that. Really, if we have a derecho event coming through, hopefully the meteorologist will make that clear ahead of time. And really, if you're in a derecho situation, it's definitely not a bad idea to go ahead and take tornado precautions and treat it like a tornado. Sometimes even with 60, 70 mile an hour winds, it doesn't necessarily hurt to kind of treat it like a tornado a little bit, because even that can pack a punch. Derechos can last for hours, producing a very extensive swath of significant property damage. Widespread power outages can and often do occur upon the passing of derechos, and these can be power outages that can last for quite a while. So yeah, these derechos, they can really pack a big punch. And that'll do it for this video segment. Stay tuned. I hope you're enjoying the campaign so far, and we will have more videos to come.